Hello to everyone, welcome to our new webinar. We already have one listener is here. Tezi, how are you? It's actually Wonka, our member. Hey. Um, so, please let me know if everything is fine into our chat box here on YouTube so that we can start sharing some charts. Hey team, NS is also here like always. Okay, so looks like everything is good. So again, just a reminder at the start of the video, if someone is new, please subscribe to our channel. Please press a like and make sure to be with us please each Monday, where we will also cover different markets. Okay, so everything is fine. Let me just check if my phone is muted. Okay. Okay. So what's going on? Well, markets are still relatively slow. As you know, we haven't seen any big volatility, big moves last week on the FX. We are just check, just a second. We are still seeing US dollar moving into some potential resistance. Before we go to the US dollar, I want to obviously look at the yields. So US yields, let me just check where I have this one. Okay, so US yields still at the potential resistance here. We have, as you know, Fed this week, and then you have also non-farm payrolls report on Friday. So my assumption is that we will see volatility here, and that we potentially could see a move to the downside. There are still speculations, obviously, that Fed may cut rates already, maybe already in March. On the opposite side of that, you have the ECB, who said last week that next rate decisions will be data dependent. So it's nothing new from the ECB, but it looks like that they are much more hawkish compared to the Fed. But the important is that the euro dollar came to the downside. So it looks like that speculators believe that ECB will try to follow the Fed, which obviously has been usually the case. So I think that if really maybe Fed will give us some hints that potentially they could be done maybe with rates, or maybe even cut them sometime this year, then of course this could bring the US yields to the downside. It will also have an impact on German yields, and then the rate differential could send euro dollar to the upside. Okay, but for now that's still not happening. We have the ECB, now we are just waiting on the Fed. So from an Elliott wave perspective, still it's looking a very nice downtrending market here. I think that this recovery from, as you know, from late December is a very nice one. Looks very interesting, very corrective. So I'm looking this as a bear flag and expecting a break to the downside. Now, we all know that everyone expected back in November and December that US yields will be much lower this year, and everyone was looking for potential trades on maybe go into treasuries, some ETFs, whatever. And now, back then there were no pullbacks, but now you have a lot of interesting retracements here. So if this trend will really resume this year with potential cuts coming from central banks, then I really think that this could be a very interesting trade, and this could potentially bring dollar to the downside with it. Okay, now if we take a look also on dollar index here. Hello Ibrahim, hello Samet. Someone asked if we could do an update on gold. Yeah, of course we will maybe not look into gold, maybe more like a silver. Okay, but I also made a video on Friday about silver as well. Okay, so now let's take a look on here. Let's take a look on dollar. Okay, so here we have dollar index moving to the upside. Okay, we said already a few weeks back that we are looking this 104 104.30 as a potential resistance. We are moving slowly towards it, but really not there yet. So maybe there's still some time left, so few days left before we can touch this area. Then maybe we see break to the downside. Very nice, very potential breakdown point could be around 102.80. Okay, so if we see this level broken and a daily close below that, then obviously we would be out of the channel as well. So I think that more weakness then should be seen here on dollar index. Now you can hear my voice, it's not the same, right? I don't feel really well. I mean, for weekend was a bit tough, so okay. So that's dollar index. I'm looking for a move into resistance, but then expecting a sell-off. But we just need to have some catalyst, right? For now, it's not here just yet. Now let's take a look also on the S&P 500. So it's interesting. Stocks are moving to the upside, and looks like that even more gains could be in the cards. Why? Because this 5 wave is still not completed. You can see only 3 waves to the upside, but we are still missing some lags here before this recovery can potentially move into resistance. So very nice resistance is around 5,000. Okay, so not only, I would not say that that's a resistance, more like a projection for the next few sessions. Okay, so as long as we are here riding within this wave 5, it's normal to expect the dollar would potentially hit or sell off from resistance, but that's not happening yet. So we'll see if maybe stocks can really stay in uptrend for this week, especially if after the Fed that would be the case. Then my assumption is that dollar will sooner or later have to give up. Also, if we take a look on DAX, this one is also in a recovery mode. Notice that price found a very nice perfect support here at the previous swing high. We expected this and also tracked this with our members, because drop was clearly overlapping here and corrective, and so far we are breaking out. So I think that there is room even for a push above 17,000 this week. If that would be decisive break higher, then I think that 17,300, 400 could really be in play here for this market, and this could potentially have a positive impact for the euro as well. Maybe let's take a look also on NASDAQ 100. I think I have it here, because last time someone asked for NASDAQ 100. So here on NASDAQ 100, okay, so here we are still potentially moving into very late stages here, into wave 5 of 3. So we are moving into some potential resistance. The most important resistance of this red Elliott wave cycle would be the upper trend line of this impulse channel. Okay, and you also have this 261.8%. So you would think that maybe we are going to top soon, but if you look closely here, maybe like a 2-hour time frame, then you can clearly see that if we just focus on this smaller time frame from this recent move to the upside from start of the year, you can actually see that this is still not a completed 5-wave movement, right? So my assumption, we will see even more gains after this retracement that is now playing out. So I think that this market, at least for the short term, should stay up, but try to not to link it with maybe with cryptos too much, because as you know, this market completely diverged after this ETF launch and after the cryptos came to the downside. I will also take a look on Bitcoin a little bit later. So bottom line, stocks are in uptrend. US yields and US dollar are still consolidating, but they are at potential resistance. We are waiting on the Fed to give us maybe potential new signs that they are really going to cut this year, then market could come to the downside. But you have to realize that inflation recently came to the upside, right, from the US. So it could be a little bit tricky. Maybe there will be no changes from the Fed, same like the ECB, and this market will be keep ranging. But I still think the dollar index will eventually this year break below 100, and that's really when very strong move to the downside could start. Okay, now let's take a look on the euro dollar. So yeah, last week, as I said, ECB did not give us any kind of new important details here. So market just remains in this current bearish intraday cycle. But what I like so far is that we have some very deep pullback here, unfolding here, potentially for a wave 2. I really love how we have some overlapping price action here in the middle, right? So my assumption is that this is the personality of a correction. Also notice that this current drop here, okay, is much slower compared to the first leg. Okay, the first was very sharp, and then you can see we have seen some sideways price action, then breakdown, but really not seeing any kind of aggressive selling, at least not at this point. So I think that this could be late stages of this correction, but of course very important support will always be at the former wave 4. So you have 107.20, very important level. Above that is 108. Let's see if this maybe could potentially play out as an ending diagonal in the near term, but of course this is a little bit, it's not an easy call. But if we can see a reversal back to the upside and break this previous swing high resistance, which the most important should be around 109.30, then I think that more upside should be seen. Why I'm looking at this one at 109.30 is because that was the ECB day. Okay, so since then this market is trading to the downside. But I think that whenever we clear some stops above that level, since the ECB they passed, I think that market could potentially really be making a reversal. But for now we are just keep moving to the downside, but as I said, with a slower pace here. So I think that it's still going to be a corrective movement. The most important level, of course, is this one right here. Okay, so as long as we are above that level, this wave 2 could move anywhere close to that level but not pass through it. If this level is broken, then short-term invalidation level will be triggered. I will have to adjust the wave count, but for now I still think that of course it's a little bit too early, right? So that's for euro dollar. Now since we mentioned euro, let's take a look also maybe on bund market. Okay, so on bunds we have seen some jump to the upside, okay, following the ECB. But what happened here is the euro dollar, as you know, moved to the downside at the same time. So it looks like that, of course, there is the rate differential that is driving the euro dollar pair. Okay, but I still think that if bond market will turn to the upside, I also see US treasuries turning to the upside this year. Then, of course, even US dollar will come to the downside, and this will cause a bounce on the euro dollar, right? So I think that even bund itself, it's very important to track in connections with the US nodes, okay, to have maybe a full perspective. Now from an Elliott wave point of view, I think that we had a very nice bottom formation here. We broke to a new low, then turned back to the upside, but notice that this level, the previous lows, okay, didn't help. In fact, we are seeing an accelerating price action here out of this bullish channel, and whenever we see a very strong movement and sharp price action out of a bullish channel, okay, that was the breakout point here. Okay, this is usually the confirmation that market is reversing the trends. So I'm looking for an impulse, meaning that recovery should be made by 5 waves. Normally when you see a pullback like this one, ideally wave 4 will stop at this upper trend line of this base channel. So if you don't know what is base channel, Google Jeffrey channeling techniques, okay, from Elliott Wave International. Actually he's not working for that firm anymore, but that's his approach, and I think it's very useful. So Be aware of potentially maybe price stabilization here. So if this market will be keep moving to the upside, I think that euro dollar could also see some very nice turning point. Okay, now let's take a look on cable. So cable, as you know, is still sideways, but when I have some clear price action here. Let me check. Okay. Okay, here it is. Okay, so whenever you have unclear price action, okay, on a smaller time frames, because that's clearly the case here, what you can do is actually try to zoom out a little bit, okay? And what you will see is just a sideways price action where market is not going anywhere. So what usually will help you in this, to maybe trying to forecast the next move is, firstly you should look where was the previous move, in which direction market moved. So here was a very nice and strong move to the upside, and now you are consolidating. So in my opinion, that was the beginning or reversal of a trend, of the previous trend, and now you're just moving sideways. So what you would expect, that range will be broken to the upside, because that's the corrective price action. That's something you want to see in the middle of an ongoing uptrend. So it's a pause, or market needs some breath to catch some breath on the way up. Okay, so I'm looking this to be potentially ongoing wave 4 here. If you look closely, you can see that last time I said that potentially wave 4 has ended here. Maybe wave 4 will be a little bit more complex. In either case, I'm looking this to be a wave 4. Now today I came out with an idea that maybe this is going to be a triangle, okay, which is very possible because rule of alternation suggests that wave 4 and wave 2 of the same degree could be different shape. So here was a 3-wave drop and very deep one in wave 2. So wave 4 may not be so deep, may not be even triggering this 38.2%, which is normal whenever there is a sideways price action for a triangle, because triangle is not a deep correction, okay, it's a sideways, same like flats. So I think the triangle here is very possible, but of course we have to see market trading and remain below above 126 level, which was that low here going back to January 17th. But even if this one is broken, of course wave 4 will still be in the cards, but just different shape and more complex. So if you want to trade cable, well, even if it's triangle, it's incomplete. Even if it's deeper triangle, deeper corrective wave 4, it's still incomplete. So in my opinion, it's a little bit too soon. But what's good about this whole price action, that it's already showing us that this is a corrective pose within uptrend, because first leg here from the highs was in 3 waves and not in 5 waves. But 5 waves are impulses, and you want to look then in the direction of an impulse. But 3 waves or 7 swings, that's a number of a corrective movement. And in such case, you know that that's a pose within uptrend. Okay. So cable, of course, maybe Bank of England will try to cause this break to the upside. However, speculators still think that are much more dovish compared to the Bank of England. It's same story like with the ECB actually, right? So we will see if maybe any central banks could surprise and potentially form a break higher here. But I really think that if I just respect what the market is doing, that we could see next leg here going higher. Okay. Now let's take a look on Kiwi this time, not Aussie, because last time we covered Aussie, it didn't move much. But we have, I think that there's inflation data will be out this week from Australia, so it still could be a mover. But I will maybe keep you updated if you're a member on our members page, obviously, and on our Twitter or other social channels. Okay, so now let's take a look on Kiwi. So what's going on here? Well, still it was a very deep pullback here. I'm not sure if that's still wave 4. We touched the 50% retracement. Actually I should do it like that, of wave 2. Okay, we are now around the 50% retracement, which is still fine for a wave 4. But if we'll go to 61.8% retracement, okay, and break that level maybe, then I really think that that's not wave 4 anymore. So 61.8%, that's usually when I was trading very smaller time frames years back, I don't focus on such smaller time frames anymore, but whenever I was looking for some trades on a very small time frames and I identified potential wave 4, the 38.2% was my ideal support, the 61.8%, that was my mental invalidation level for a wave 4. So beyond that level I had my stops. Okay, so it also help you to identify maybe a better risk reward trade rather than putting stops into the territory of a wave 1 here, right? That's still a free wave drop. At least for now it could be a free wave drop from the highs, but as I said, if we go a little bit lower, then this could be a wave 2 higher degree, but will be maybe much more complex. Who knows, maybe this will be only the first leg of a higher degree pullback, and then we will see a reversal higher. So it's a little bit tricky here. As long as we are trading below this level here, let's say 62, okay, 6200, as long as we are trading below that level, we cannot say that this correction is coming to an end. But if we are starting to see breaks to the upside and then stable price action, meaning that it's not just one day event, but you see prices stable out of the channel, and maybe you see green closes 3 days in a row or something, then you know that that's a decisive confirmed breakout, and then we could expect much more upside here, possibly even back towards these levels. But for now it's definitely too soon to say that we are on that trip already. Okay, now let's take a look also maybe on dollar Mexican peso. Okay, so dollar Mexican peso is in downtrend, no doubt. What we are looking at now is just sideways price action. Keep in mind that rates in Mexico has been much higher compared to other countries through the past few through the whole 2023. So I still think that Mexican peso generally should stay strong, because my assumption is the dollar will come under pressure, and this will allow Mexican peso to revisit its highs versus the US dollar, or in other words, dollar Mexican peso to drop back to a new low. Also, this rise was clearly an overlapping here from that low to that swing high, so that's a correction. Okay, so I'm looking for a resumption to the downside. Maybe wave 4 will be a little bit more complex, maybe a little bit more longer in time. Okay, it could be like a triangle, but I still think that if we see a pop-up here towards 17.60, that should be a very nice and interesting resistance here. Okay, also maybe watch what will be going on with stocks. Of course, stocks are also correlated with the Mexican peso, but not at this stage, because dollar somehow lost this correlation. But generally speaking, I still think that if stocks will stay in uptrend, if Fed will cause some reversal down on the US yields, that dollar Mexican peso could also see movement to the downside. Also keep in mind what is going on maybe on crude oil. Crude oil is also trying to break higher, but not really convinced that we are back in the bull run here. I will go to crude oil now. Okay, so crude oil here, firstly daily chart. Okay, or maybe even better, let me take a look here. Okay, on the monthly scale, I actually covered this one in our 2024 Elliott wave video outlook. Okay, so if you didn't watch that video, you can still watch it. I think it's still fine. So here I mentioned that crude oil is coming to the downside. It's on a corrective movement. I really don't believe that we will see anytime soon revisits of 130 area. This leg to the upside here after COVID crisis was very similar price action compared to this one here. Okay, in 2008, and afterwards we have seen this correction that was in play for 4 years. So now again we could be in a very similar, maybe smaller time frame here, but still it's a correction ongoing. Also watch out here, this line at the bottom. Okay, these are US crude oil reserves, and you can see that they're not a lot of reserves. But if the price will be keep moving to the up to the downside, let's say towards $50, which I believe it's very possible here for in the next year or two, I think that of course a lot of countries could be looking to fill their reserves, so there will be a lot of demand for crude oil. And whenever we see these prices, crude oil could obviously stabilize around 60 and bounce later on. Okay, so but for now we are still in this cycle that to the downside that is incomplete. Now if you take a look now on a daily time frame, okay, so we are tracking a corrective price action within downtrend. I'm not really sure if this wave B, let me try to draw the lines here, wave B is already finished and we'll see move to the upside and then a reversal lower, or are we already going to see more weakness? In either case, I think that more weakness this year could could really unfold, but we'll see. Also keep in mind that crude oil and the dollar have a different correlations like before, because crude is important for inflation. Okay, now I'm sorry. Now let's take a look also maybe on the 4-hour time frame. So here we had these three waves to the upside, but not really, as I said earlier, we are not really breaking out yet. Okay, so it can be a corrective rise like a wave C, especially if we drop back below 74, then I think more weakness will be seen. But if we break the $79-80, let's say in the next few days, then I really start thinking that we are headed much higher. So I'm waiting what will happen in the next few days, but I'm really prepared on this one as well. It's a bearish interpretation. So if we see a drop towards 74, okay, and energies will come to the downside, then I could be looking even for potential shorts. And this could potentially mean that inflation will come back to the downside. It could potentially mean that US yields, because of that reason, will come down, and this will make dollar also weak. So that's why I said earlier that correlations with dollar and crude oil are not really perfect, okay? As long as the inflation is the main story here. But for now, it's still very, very possible, obviously, that we could see potentially rise to the upside much higher if we, as I said, break $80. We gapped higher at the open, but now just in a corrective intraday movement. So we'll see how this will unfold in the next few sessions. Now let's take a look also on silver. So silver here, last time we discussed about the silver, it's a very nice ABC setback here. So even if you just focus on this scale and try to ignore maybe the higher time frame where the market is sideways, you are seeing a very nice reversal. More importantly, after a very strong drop here, okay, to a new low below that triple or double, triple, whatever you want here, because it was another swing low here. A break below that level, everyone was calling for a breakdown. And what is happening now? The price is reversing, more importantly, even back below the previous swing lows. Okay, so I think that this is very significant. It could tell us that silver is trying to bottom here and it will see more upside. So I'm looking for more, I'm expecting more upside on silver. Keep in mind the dollar is still at the resistance, but silver is already making some interesting reversal here. So if dollar would come to the downside, then I think that silver, which is already higher, will see even more strength here. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now let's take a look maybe on some of the single stocks, because recently I asked if there is any interest in the single stocks, and I see that there's a lot of interest in single stocks. So let me just walk through some of them. So this one is interesting, ExxonMobil Corporation. So it's one of the largest traded oil companies and gas, of course, as well in the US. And what's interesting here is, I mean, it's a pretty nice wave count. Looks like a textbook example of a flat formation, where you have 3 waves down for a wave A, 3 waves move to the upside within wave B to a new high, just a minor break higher, and then you see a 5 wave drop, which by the way, it's an ending diagonal here, that also makes just a minor break to a new low. So what we are seeing right now is a very nice and very powerful reversal. It looks like that's an impulse, even if just you will see just temporary recovery here, and let's say that market will then just keep moving sideways. Well, you still need 3 waves to the upside, okay, because that's only first leg, let's say wave A. But even if this is going to be a correction and then you will see a move to the downside suddenly, you still need waves A, B, C to the upside. So I think that more upside here is very possible. We will see, of course, if this one is also linked with crude oil. Obviously, crude oil prices, it's a very tight correlation. But keep in mind that there are going to be earnings reports on Friday. Yes, on Friday, February 2nd. So maybe not a good idea to gamble before that data, but let's say that maybe if markets data comes out in line with the expectations, or you see some small gap to the downside, then maybe there could be an interesting observation for potentially higher prices and to fill the gap first. So I'm looking for this company maybe to trying to bottom out. Definitely from a technical perspective, I think it has a very interesting structure here. Now let's take a look on Tesla. So Tesla is coming to the downside. It's a very okay. I can take a look at Apple, but keep in mind that I don't have all of the. I have some listed stocks here that I look from time to time, but I don't have all the wave counts updated. Okay, so but I will look at it still. Okay, so here Tesla, maybe this one is even better. So it's in consolidation ongoing. Notice that first leg was in 3 waves, and then market recovered again in 3 waves. So whenever you have free structure, it can be 2 things, okay? Actually 3 things. It can be a WXY, it can be triangle, okay? Or it can be a flat. But I look for potential triangle because I see prices now dropping into some very interesting area here. So after earnings miss last week, we are seeing the price coming down into 61.8%, okay, of that rise here. Also, you have wave C that equals to wave A, some equality levels down here, okay, and then you have also a little bit low. So that's the first support here, around 180 or so. But then you have also some gaps from earnings from a year back that was filled, act as a support. So maybe another level that we should watch should be around 150. So this one is also very important. But why Tesla maybe is lagging a bit, or why traders or investors are a bit pessimistic maybe going forward, is because, as you know, there is a very big fight between these EVs, electric vehicles, especially because in China is doing very well. Even Elon Musk himself said that China can do very well, and especially if they will not move on tariffs or something. So if Trump, I think, is suggesting 10% on every tariffs or something, on every import. So if that would be the case, of course, this could help other companies like Tesla to help to stabilize them, but otherwise China could do very well. So maybe that's one of the reasons why there's not a very clear path going forward here. But from an Elliott wave perspective, I still think that that's a pretty nice consolidation. And in the short term, if we try to bottom here and stabilize with an impulsive intraday price action here, I think that even short-term setups could be very good for temporary recovery for wave D. But you just have to see some price stabilization here first, okay? Now, someone said that want to take a look at April, okay? So this one, I mean, not really clear. We maybe have potentially 5 waves up, then we reverse to the downside. We fill the gap, So because of the gap fill, now we are just now trying to stabilize here. So maybe there will be an ABC drop and then we see a reversal to the upside, or maybe that's still some kind of a, if I show you some alternation here, maybe this could also be a triangle here. Okay, that would be an alternation. But because it's really unclear and because we are not seeing this potential triangle completed, I just think that it's a little bit too early to forecast the next move. I would rather stay aside here. But if prices will keep ranging here for the next, let's say, few weeks, maybe even months, then I would say that this is a triangle and that we are going higher. But for now, because even the triangle potential bullish setup is still incomplete, I just don't really have a very strong opinion on this one. Okay, we just try to scan for some others as well. So this one, advanced micro devices AMD, is also very interesting. Okay, so we have a very nice potential bullish impulse in progress, right? But notice that from that low, okay, that goes back from start of January, we have these 5 waves up. So try to ignore the big letters here. So whenever you have 5 waves up, you would expect that market will consolidate. Okay, so I think that there can be a deeper support. Also watch out this support at 164. This goes back to the previous swing high here. So I think that this one will be very important test for AMD. Whenever this market will stay in uptrend, this level should hold. If not, if broken, then I think that we are topping out here. So I have actually 2 observations here. Potentially we are in trying to complete wave 5, and there will be the deeper correction if this previous swing high potential support at 164 will not hold, or maybe this is going to be, let me just fix this, going to be wave 4 pullback. So I think that if you're looking for some short-term setups on the long side, then definitely watch 164.50, because if we are really stepping into a new bull run, you want to see that the previous broken high will act as a support. Okay, if you see break below it and suddenly break even towards 150, then this will be seen as a fake out and market will just move back into the sideways price action, some consolidations. Okay, now let's take a look also on PayPal, because we covered PayPal recently. So interestingly, market before some data came out and news from PayPal, I think that announced fast line, so one-click buying or something, but looks like that their speculators were long before that that news, and now the market is back in sideways, temporary sideways consolidations. Obviously that makes sense because you have earnings coming out in a week or so. So it looks like that till then market could be chopping around, but I still think that it's a very nice and beautiful potential ending diagonal that could send us higher, ideally back to this unfilled gap that goes to August 09. Okay, so I still think that there is chance for this price to recover. And now let's take a look maybe on cryptocurrencies. So this actually is from our members area. So what I'm looking at here and also on Bitcoin itself, well, keep in mind that we are now tracking a wave 4 consolidation. Okay, here that it's not fully shown, it's a wave 2. Now to say that this drop is already a completed correction, it's a little bit too early. Okay, so I think that this consolidation, this choppy price action could now last a little bit longer. There was a lot of trading activity around Bitcoin. Everyone is still looking for potential some very big gains after ETF's launch. So what market has to do now is it will have to get rid of both longs and shorts, okay, before the next real direction can be found. And in my opinion, this potential higher degree wave 4 could be the perfect case and perfect timing for this correction to unfold. Okay, so ideally we will see an ABC setback here. I'm looking for 38 to be a very important support. Yes, I know that we came pretty closely but maybe that was still only wave A of a deeper or maybe sideways consolidation for wave 4, which by the way can be irregular, can be flat. We could even see a move close to new highs and then a reversal back to the downside for a wave C. But I just think it's a little bit too premature to say that we are headed back towards 50,000. Okay, I still think that it's a little bit tough situation at this point. But in the short term, at least in the short term, maybe there is some chance for more upside. Watch out this 44 to 45,000 to be potential potential projection for this week, because even if we are in a corrective recovery, well, keep in mind that we should see maybe 3 waves to the upside. But the Ethereum, on the other hand, is also not looking good. As long as we are trading below 2,400 potential resistance, I think that that's still ongoing weakness. Okay, if we break this level, then sideways consolidation could be seen. But for now, I just think that that cryptocurrencies are a little bit tricky. Of course, we have plenty of altcoins covered here as well, which has potentially bullish setups going on, but of course not markets are the same, right? So Bitcoin itself is the most important, at least for me, for crypto. So as long as this one is in a corrective period, just be careful out there. Okay, traders, I hope that you enjoyed this presentation today. Please give me some feedback, leave us some comments if you'll watch this one later, or also make sure to subscribe to our channel, put notifications on, and I hope to will again see you next Monday. Okay, traders, have a good day. Bye.